Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first ever episode of 151. I'm b-sox. I'm, of course, joined by Justin over here. He's one of my buddies, and you may be asking yourself, what is 151? Well, a long time ago, we did some podcasting, and we never took it that serious, but we had a lot of fun doing it, and we wanted to take a little bit more time and maybe actually put some effort into it and do a podcast that maybe people will like.
Maybe they won't.
I don't know. It's quite possible, but yeah. I mean, it's just one of those things where we're gonna sit down, we're gonna have some fun. We're into all kinds of stuff, anything from movies to comic books to music to sports to paranormal. And I know with this stuff you're supposed to kind of narrow it down to something you really love. There's the people that just do the video gaming podcasts.
Very boring.
We don't want to do just the video game podcast. We want to do everything. It's poker night here. We want you to enjoy it. So, welcome to 151. You can follow us at 151 The Show on Twitter. We'll have a YouTube page, and maybe once we get all rich and famous doing this, we'll have a web page.
And sponsors. Who knows? It could happen. So tonight we thought we'd start with something that's near and dear to Justin and I's hearts. Superhero movies. Over the next, 3, 4, 5, 6 years.
There's a lot of superhero movies coming out.
Yes, there are. And Marvel, they did the whole Phase 3 thing, the timeline to show that, hey, this is everything we're doing over the next couple years. DC kind of did the same thing, I think, but they're always kind of half a step behind Marvel.
It's gonna fluctuate anyway. I mean, as soon as Marvel had the chance to squeeze in Spider-Man, that whole first chart went out the window, and I expect for that to happen at least one or two more times between DC, between Marvel, and somebody else has got to pop up in here with all your your third-party franchises, your non-big tentpole, just trying to capitalize.
Well, I read a thing the other day. I guess Blade came back into Marvel Studios,
okay,
where they might be able to put him into the cinematic universe. So they're trying to. I
think the Blade movies are good enough right now. I mean, that they stood well enough. They kind of, in a way, kicked all this stuff kind of off.
Yeah,
I think they just got to bring back in Wesley Snipes.
Yeah, broke ass
exactly
Wesley Snipes.
Exactly. He'll do it. He needs the money.
Exactly. Well, I was talking to a friend of mine a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about all the different Marvel movies that are coming out. We'll get to DC here as we go, but I feel like Marvel is trying to bring everything back in house. I think that they needed the money at the time. So they started selling off all these different, X-Men,
yep,
Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, and so on and so forth. And now they're starting to bring it back. And my biggest worry with Phase 3 is that they're going to have too much going on. I got to tell you, man, when I'm looking at the old chart for all the movies that are coming out.
Well, let's go down through them.
All right, so 2000, you're pretty much done for this year. So 2016, you'll have Deadpool. Are we doing DC movies here too, or not? DC, we can have a conversation.
Let's just go through the Marvel ones right now,
okay,
and we'll come back to DC, and then we can address them as how they're going to be to Marvel.
All right, so Deadpool, you have Captain America: Civil War, you have X-Men: Apocalypse, Gambit, and Doctor Strange in 2016.
Yep. Deadpool's always going to be kind of a standalone. They're never going to have Deadpool in the major MCU. They're going to tie it up with some dialogue, mm-hmm, to make you aware that he's going to be aware of the Avengers. The Avengers aren't going to be aware of him unless they really could sneak in a scene, something I've seen on the internet, which is where he's just in the background. They're at Stark Tower, at Avengers Tower. Deadpool's in the background. He's reheating a taco in the microwave, and somebody says, "Hey, what the bleep are you doing here?" And he runs out a window and says, "Catch me, Peter," and then you hear splat.
Something like that.
I mean, that would be the only throwaway that you could ever do with Deadpool in that bigger universe.
Is that a way? Is that the same company? Is he in?
who's doing the Deadpool?
He's at Fox.
Is it at Fox?
It's at Fox. So I mean, he's still separate.
Is that how they? Because Deadpool stuff is break the fourth wall.
Yep.
Break the fourth wall a lot. He's in a comic book. He knows it.
Yep.
Does he make inside jokes, and that's how they break the fourth wall in the movie? Because you saw him do it in the trailer with the please don't make the suit green or.
Well, I mean, and that's just kind of a they get to take those shots. The really on the breaking the fourth wall. I mean, that's a nod to the audience, but Deadpool himself breaking the fourth wall. That's the Daddy's touching himself tonight.
Yeah.
Thing like that.
Of all the times my cats could start to get into a fight,
is now.
It was right now. Yeah. So, anyways, going on, Captain America: Civil War, which is essentially Avengers 2.5.
And that, I think, is where you're going to see whether or not this let's cram everybody into the Marvel Universe thing, whether it's going to work or whether it's going to turn into a shit show. Pardon my French.
That's
fine. Because you look at who you've got in there already. I mean, we already know. The only guy I think that isn't maybe coming back for that is
Blade.
is Thor, because I think he's off. But you've got Captain America, and you've got Iron Man, obviously Widow, Hawkeye, Vision, War Machine, Scarlet Witch.
Everybody's in it. Falcon.
Falcon, Iron Man.
I think Ant-Man's in there at some point.
Ant-Man. We've thrown in Spider-Man. I mean, we've got all the surrounding characters. Nick Fury and Maria Hill and Peggy Carter. Everybody's in there. They've got crammed in somehow. We're going to find out whether or not this works.
And apparently Coulson's in there too.
See, and I thought they were keeping Coulson out of the MCU.
In the at the Disney Expo
or
whatever.
D23?
Yeah, they did the trailer for Civil War, and at one point you hear I think it's Stark saying, "And Coulson's the new head of S.H.I.E.L.D."
Oh, okay.
So
well, they're going to tie it all up then. I mean, we're going to find out whether it works here within a couple months.
My biggest fear about this isn't so much that movie, because I think if they do it well, I think it'll be kind of cool. But there's a lot of subject matter just in that movie.
Yep.
Where they're really going to have to pick and choose what they want. But here's my bigger concern, and we can read the rest of the movies here in a second, but my biggest concern is they're moving towards Infinity Wars is the big one. I think that's fair to say that Marvel's crowning jewel right now will be Infinity Wars.
Yeah, and they've already, that's on the list.
They have a hell of a lot of territory to cover before they can even get, because think about, Thanos.
Yep.
Thanos. Think about it. I mean, the most you've seen him is like a minute. And one was him turning towards the camera.
Yep. And
another one was him grabbing the glove and
it's all been CGI. I mean, they've got Josh Brolin signed up to become him, but it's all been CGI.
But they have a ton of territory to cover before they can really
they can't screw any of it up.
No.
It's all important.
Is it becoming too complex?
For your jump-in end user...
I just mean overall, are they going to get... Because you go back to Iron Man, which kind of kicked off the whole cinematic universe, right? That was a pretty simple story.
You didn't need to know anything.
Guy gets captured, super smart, builds an arc reactor in a cave.
Yep.
With spare parts. Oh, God bless you, Jeff Bridges.
Thank you, Jebediah Stane.
Anyways, simple story. He builds a suit, gets out, wants to keep going.
Yep.
Pretty simple, right?
Yep.
Thor, pretty simple movie.
Captain America,
pretty
World
simple.
War II, super-powered super soldier. Think of Superman Light. You got Captain America.
Yeah. Now you're getting into this whole thing of like, even if you could even say it about Avengers 2, where they're trying to set up stuff.
The mythology has gotten a lot more complex.
It's like, are you cramming too much into these movies? Where I know they're making Infinity Wars is essentially going to be a 5-hour movie, because they'll probably do 2.5 hours for it.
Yeah.
That's my thing. I don't know if there's too much going on where
it's going to take a lot of coherent writing and somebody making sure that overall the continuity works.
One of my biggest fears, and if you've ever hung out with Justin and I, he knows that I hate Iron Man 3.
Yes.
And this is why I'm bringing this up. When you start thinking about and talking about this, having this conversation of, is there too much in? Are they going to be able to take, this awesome story from the comic book and move it to the big screen? I think Iron Man 3 is a great example where they took Extremis, and and they kind of dicked it up.
Look, I think if they'd have dropped a couple of the more fantastical elements out of it, breathing fire, for example.
But I mean,
it made for a good beat. It made for a good comedy beat. But
it felt like they tried to take that and shoehorn it into a movie where you probably didn't need it, and you could have made the actual Extremis movie. God dang it!
Well,
I can't remember how to say it.
In a way, they did, but the problem is that you had years of book storyline.
Yeah,
that they made a movie.
But they could take. But if you go back to that, I mean, even when they did someone did put it up on YouTube, the stop motion or the whatever. I mean, you had just that storyline was a pretty good comic book. It was one of the best stories that ever came out of Iron Man. And then you took it and Shane Black was like, I'm gonna do it like this. I think I can make this story better.
I'm gonna buddy cop it, and I'm gonna throw the Mandarin in, and it was the same thing that they accused Iron Man 2 of doing with, trying to do too much setup with Widow for the Avengers and the rest.
See, I thought that was its biggest drawback was there was just too much in there.
Whereas,
it was too much setup for everything else.
Whereas you take a movie like The Winter Soldier, you have that a very, very straightforward storyline. The only thing that you can really throw stones at that storyline is, okay, why is he on his own?
Yeah.
Where was Tony Stark?
Yeah. I think my wife asked that the first time we watched it.
Isn't Steve Rogers going to pick up the phone and say, Tony, I really need your help, and 42 suits here would make a lot of difference. I'm fighting helicarriers. Everybody's trying to kill me.
Yeah.
As the same token as, okay, this guy's shooting missiles at Tony Stark's house. Where is the SHIELD response? Why didn't SHIELD park a helicarrier off of?
Yeah.
There's the certain amount of disbelief, and then there's a certain of that's got to be addressed in the storytelling. I can only hope that they're learning from the mistakes as they go.
Captain America I liked, the second one.
Yeah.
And we're getting kind of off topic here.
We are a little bit,
but it really is. It's the movie logic.
It is
for that kind of thing.
It absolutely is.
Anyways, so yeah, I mean, as we're looking forward at some of these, especially the Marvel movies that are in the cinematic universe, I think there's cause for concern that we're going to get to a point where they're going to get hit overload on the different on all the story that they're trying to cram in. I think at some point it's just going to be like, okay, you had 75 different characters in there, and I remember nothing about this movie.
And at the end of the day, because you know me, my basis on judging one of these movies is, was I entertained for 2 hours?
Uh-huh.
Or 2.5, whatever. I don't care if it holds up over time. I care about, was I entertained for 2 hours?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's going to go into one of my categories where I'm going to be entertained more by a bad Marvel movie than by half of the stuff that is quote-unquote good that's out there.
No, I can agree with that.
I mean,
because Avengers, let's face it, Avengers Age of Ultron, it was crammed full of,
Yeah, it was. No, I mean, and absolutely. There were some missteps. There were some faults. And I look at that. I pull that back to Star Trek V. Star Trek V is a bad movie. I'd still rather watch Star Trek V than half the crap on television.
All right, for those of you at home, we got so drunk one night that we figured out a way that Final Frontier was a good movie.
Yes.
And it's always held a special place in my heart.
Yes.
So, the other movies coming out later that year, of course, X-Men Apocalypse, which I don't know what to think. When they put out the trailer for it, the first trailer for it, I was really disappointed. I was like, this looks boring. And Apocalypse looks like Ivan Ooze. Somebody put up a meme on Facebook like the day after, and it's had the Power Rangers and the Ivan Ooze.
But look, I thought First Class was going to be bad. I
really didn't know what to expect.
I thought what was the last one that came out?
Not Last Stand.
The one they just released the road cut of.
Yeah.
Where they went back in time.
Days of Future Past.
Days of Future Past. I thought that was going to be terrible. I didn't think there'd any way they'd translate that onto the screen. So far, I've been pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, you have X-Men. Suicide Squad is a part of that. Gambit, isn't it? What's his name doing that?
Channing Tatum.
Channing Tatum.
I could care less about this movie.
I'll go see it.
I could really care less about this movie.
I heard
the only good incarnation of Gambit, as far as I'm concerned. They always say, "Oh, he's this beloved character." No, he was pretty good in the '90s X-Men TV show, the animated one. Other than that,
what was the deal he wore around his head? I never understood.
I never understood it either.
It
has nothing to do with his powers. It's just a weird helmet.
I mean, the coat was cool, but it's like, what's your headdress there? What's going on there, Gambit? Then you have Doctor Strange, which that could go a lot of ways.
That could go a lot of ways. I think Benedict Cumberbatch is going to be. I mean, he's going to play the character well. Tilda Swinton, I know, is the overseer, not the overseer, but the strange mystic force. I think that's one of those that could honestly probably live in its own universe without any connection.
But here, let me ask you this:
as long as they don't try and make that a big tent pole. Oh, we're going to spend $150 million and it needs to make $200 million before. If they make that movie fairly cheap, keep it fairly simple, I think that could really be something based on the performance of Broccoli Cucumber alone.
There's part of me though that is looking at this character and thinking, boy, he should almost just be like a background character. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but I mean it in a way of look at like the comics. The best Doctor Strange stuff is when he's with other people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I think you have to establish it. Look, even if you only have him again in Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Yeah.
You still have to have the initial movie to establish that character,
I could see
and establish Bundersnatch Cumberbund as the guy.
I want to say I'm excited because I think it'll be different. I think it's going to go down that road of Guardians of the Galaxy, where I don't know if people are gonna go into it questioning. I
think those have the ability. Your Guardians of the Galaxy, your Ant-Man, your Doctor Strange. I think it has the ability, like I said, as long as they don't try and make it a tentpole movie, to be able to be that weird little Marvel side alley that we can take a step down, and some people are going to like it, and some people aren't. The big thing is that you're not staking the entire franchise on that.
Okay.
I think that Marvel's allowed to have a couple of missteps.
See, and I think everybody thought Guardians was going to be a misstep. I thought it was because I was like, man, you're going to try and get me to like a talking raccoon.
And see, that was one of those because I was fairly sure as long as they didn't screw it up by either A, taking it too seriously, or B, hang too much on it, that they'd be fine.
Okay.
My initial, when I heard that they'd cast Chris Pratt, was that they were going to play it in a Starsky and Hutch, Brady Bunch, that kind of almost making fun of itself, which you can make fun of that themselves in that to a certain extent and still have that be in the theme of who they are. I mean, it can be self-mocking without being campy.
Okay.
And somehow they managed to take a tree and a raccoon and somehow not make them campy, which
they did a good job. It was a fun movie. It's one of the better Marvel ones.
And they just hung a lamppost on it that he's a raccoon and he's a tree and this is weird and we're in outer space. I mean, and I've got to say something they've been fairly good at in the Avengers 2. Hey, we're on a flying city, we're fighting robots, and I have a bow and arrow. Nothing makes sense.
Very true, very true. On to 2017, you'll have Wolverine 3, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, maybe Fantastic Four 2.
Not a chance.
Wonder Woman isn't part of it, and the untitled Spider-Man movie. Not to mention Thor.
Ragnarok.
Yep, and those are all different companies.
Spider-Man's going to be interesting because he's already going to have been in Captain America, so it's not going to be an origin story.
No.
Which, thank God,
I'm kind of done with origin stories for a little bit.
I know how Spider-Man. Yes, okay, he's got dead Uncle Ben. I mean, how many times are we going to do it? Everybody knows.
He's got dead Uncle Ben.
Everybody knows. Look, everybody knows how Superman came about. Everybody knows that Batman's parents are dead. Everybody knows that Spider-Man lost Uncle Ben. Let's just move on to these characters being these characters. I mean, you don't have to tell us all this stuff every single time. So let's, Spider-Man's out there. He's out there. So let's do a non-origin Spider-Man story and see how we go.
What if you did I kind of want to, I'd rather, instead of another Spider-Man movie like this, I almost kind of want him to do like Spider-Man 2099.
I think that's.
I mean,
I
think
you got to stay in the animated stuff for that because I don't think you can have the two universes running side by side right now. For clarity's sake.
If I was going to see another Spider-Man movie, I love the first three. Well, I shouldn't say the first three. I should say the first two.
2.5.
Spider-Man 3 is where they started trying to cram too much into a movie.
Yep.
Didn't make it. That needed to be an R-rated movie for Venom. It really did.
Yep.
I know that Marvel or Sony was never going to allow that, but to make a good Venom movie, it has to be R-rated.
Yeah, you're right.
But another Spider-Man movie to me is kind of like, okay. And Spider-Man's my favorite character. That's the bad thing about it.
See, and I've never been a Spider-Man fan. And it shocks a lot of people. I've never seen the appeal. Because, Peter Parker's a teenager, and I know a lot of people say, the teenagers identify with him. That's why he's so popular. He's also, yes, a teenager bitten by a radioactive spider. I mean, I can identify with Superman. Actually, I can identify with Batman easier than I can identify with Superman or Spider-Man or any of the rest of them. Because Batman was just a dude who was smart enough and rich enough to become his own superhero. Given enough time and enough money, I could be Batman. I can't be Superman. I can't be Spider-Man.
Yeah, good call. But you also can't be Gambit either.
Or
Deadpool.
Well, no, but I could be Green Lantern.
Okay, you could be Green Lantern.
I could get a ring one of these days.
All right, somebody could show up. And the Purple Monster could show you. And be like, hey, guess what? You're a Green Lantern.
Yep.
You're right up there with Aquaman.
I'm Space Cop.
Thor, I think the second Thor, I mean, it was kind of entertaining, but I think it was kind of a failure as a movie. It's kind of like, okay, this isn't really pushing along the whole story here.
No, it was purely filler set up to introduce us to another Infinity Stone to head towards Infinity War.
Yeah.
That was it. I'm hoping for more out of Ragnarok.
And I loved how in Age of Ultron they shoehorned the setup for Ragnarok into that. And I guess what's his name was just pissed about that.
Joss.
Yeah. Just hot.
And I understand that, he had a director's cut and we'll never see it because even though he might not have agreed with the version the studio put out, he is enough of a realist to say, this is the product that was put out, so this is the product.
Yeah.
Which I got.
He wasn't like the dude from Fantastic Four that went off and said, "Oh, the studio did this," and almost got into a fight with people.
I had a cut that was great, and you never saw it, or you won't ever see it. And don't get me wrong, that stance from Joss Whedon both somehow infuriates me to know that there's 30 more minutes maybe of footage that I'd like to see, and makes me respect him at the same time.
Yeah. Going back to Fantastic Four for a second, did you have any desire at all to go see that movie?
Nope.
I didn't either.
Nope. Here's what happened. As soon as I saw the previews for that movie, and I'm gonna throw it a couple years back here. Were you ever Stargate fan?
Kind of. Like, I would watch it, but it was one of those shows I just couldn't get into for some reason.
Okay, the 200th episode of Stargate, they've got this in-canon movie director who was actually an alien who got tied up with the program, and he's trying to pitch basically the Stargate story as a Hollywood movie. Okay. And the Air Force is going along with it because it's plausible deniability, it's cover, they're like, oh, this isn't real, look,
Yeah.
And one of the things that they want to do is take the team and basically make them teenagers and make it dark and edgy and like cross it with 90210. And as soon as I saw the first Fantastic Four,
the new one, the trailer,
I'm like, oh my God, they just did a 10-year-old flashback to this, what they were making fun of in this Stargate episode, because it's exactly, I mean, you take Fantastic Four, we're going to make them young, hip, teenagers, we're gonna mix it up and we're gonna put a hip-hop soundtrack on it, and we're gonna use a number in the title. I was done right then.
I heard a thing afterwards. It was so bad that Stan Lee wasn't even gonna make a cameo.
That's bad.
That
dude'll do anything.
I heard that and I'm like, wow, that must really show you. But Fantastic Four in general, I don't care. I just they're like Human Torch has some interesting points to them, and
the best thing about the Fantastic Four and the Human Torch was when Chris Evans played the Human Torch, because I mean that dude could read the phone book and I'd watch it, quite frankly.
Well, you're a big Chris Evans fan, huh?
You know what? I always have been. The Losers, the movie The Losers.
That's a great movie.
His performance in that, I was sold.
That was one of those ones I was like, man, that's exactly like the A-Team, but that's entertaining.
Yeah,
that's good
when
stuff.
When he gets in the elevator, and when he gets out and he does the mind gun, I'll kill you with the power of my mind.
That was good.
That is great. I'm a fan forever.
All right, so as we get into the year 2018, you'll get the first of the Avengers: Infinity War.
Yep.
Black Panther, which I could care less about. Unknown X-Men movie.
Well, Black Panther and Wakanda. I mean, the vibranium.
I get it.
Look, it works well as a story. I mean, as story elements. I don't know if it'll support a whole movie.
It's never been interesting to me, and maybe that's just my taste in comics or whatever. But I just never. Like the other day on one of the things that came up that, oh look, here's set pictures from Avengers. I'm like, oh awesome. Oh, it's Black Panther. Yep. Great, wonderful.
Well, again, they've worked the vibranium here so hard into these movies that.
Which, by the way, real quick, this is my one movie question that I have never been able to wrap my mind around.
Okay.
You go back to the original Captain America.
Yep.
When he's picking out his shield.
Yep.
And Howard Stark is like, oh, this one's groovy. It's got gadgets and stuff. Hey, what's this one? Oh, that's just a prototype.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, for what? Just I made it out of the most.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. We have 3 ounces of this material, and we made a shield out of it.
What the just no, go back and really think about that, because it's one of those. Okay, what were you going to do with it? Like, okay, why did you?
The only thing I can think of is before it was a quote unquote shield, it was a round disc.
Yeah.
It was going to be a vibration dampener of some sort.
But I like how he takes the rarest element on Earth in that universe,
and let's make a sled out of it.
The rare. I mean, imagine if Clark Griswold had that going down the hill.
Exactly.
He would have been fine.
Well, he would have hit the Walmart a lot harder.
But I mean, I go back to that. I'm like, what were you going to do with it? Okay, it's a prototype.
It was going to be a giant fondue dish.
Okay, that's fine. Why'd you make it out of the rarest metal on Earth?
So the forks wouldn't clink.
For as smart as they are sometimes.
I know.
You go back and you really think about some of the... Huh?
Mm-hmm.
What? No, come on. I don't get it, but let's see. So you have the X-Men movie, Captain Marvel. I don't care.
It's going to depend on which incarnation in Captain Marvel they do and what storylines they go.
Hopefully it's just a girl with huge boobs and a lot of cleavage.
Well, I think they'll probably downplay that because, I mean, the one thing that you do have to take into account here is that, at the main core Avengers, let's say up until now.
Yeah.
Tony Stark, rich white dude. Thor, big, strong, Viking, blonde,
white dude.
Captain America, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, experimented on by a German scientist, white dude. Excuse me. So yes, the fact that you can throw in Black Panther and Captain Marvel and diversify that universe a little bit, I'm sure is very attractive to the studio. Meanwhile, I guess I don't really see the point. You've got Falcon, who we all know is going to be Captain America.
Yeah, but if they were really trying to go down that route, they would have gone with the other Spider-Man.
Oh, Miles Morales.
Yeah.
I don't think you can introduce Miles Morales into the MCU as it stands right now because don't get me wrong, Miles Morales, as far as I'm concerned, is
you ever read that
Spider-Man.
comic, by the way?
Enough, a little bit, not terribly amount, but
have they ever?
Again, Spider-Man isn't my favorite.
It's there was a crossover one where Peter Parker from the 616 went over to their universe, and they tag teamed and did all that, teamed up. And when Peter got back, he looked up Miles Morales in their universe and had like a oh my god moment.
Yeah,
but they never said who.
Well, I thought he started mentoring him or something, like he's prepping him for his replacement.
In the
616 in our.
It's been a while since I picked it up, so I just.
But
I don't know. Anyways,
I think you have to bring Spider-Man into the current MCU as Peter Parker, because otherwise all the people who have
he's
never
supposed
read
to be
a
Iron
comic,
Spider in the Civil War.
Nice.
Have you seen that?
Uh-uh.
Where he actually at the beginning of the Civil War thing, he joins with Tony's side.
Yep.
And Tony goes, "All right, you're awesome. I'm going to make you an Iron Man suit," but he makes an Iron Spider-Man.
Interesting.
And they eventually fight each other, and Spider-Man changes sides later on, but spoiler alert.
Well, but I just read, spoiler alert, the other day that they were filming a scene in Germany with him fighting Captain America mano a mano. So, but I think you have to bring Peter Parker into that MCU to start that up. I don't think you can do any other introduction.
The Iron Spider suit.
That's fantastic.
It's pretty awesome. If you could see what Justin's saying. Copyright laws. Mm-hmm. So, we spent enough time with Marvel. I think we covered Avengers earlier.
Yep.
That we're worried.
We're through Captain Marvel. Then we got the second Avengers movie. And that's pretty much going to wrap us up with Marvel through 2020.
Yeah, I think there's a couple other random ones. Sinister Six, they thought about doing it. This one had a Sandman on there. X-Force. Oh, Inhumans. Which is trying to get covered in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but that's not working.
I don't think that's got a big enough draw to... they're still going to have to do a setup story. They can't jump right into it.
So, Marvel, I think that...
They'll have some hits and some misses.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it.
I'm excited about the Marvel stuff that's coming up. I think it's going to be fun. I think they're running that thin red line of, are we trying to do too much with some of these stories to make them as good as they should be? Mm-hmm. So that's kind of my take on the Marvel side. Over with DC, as we move our way through on the first ever 151 with Justin.
And Sox.
Hello. If you want to follow us, you can go to Twitter, and it is 151 The Show. And I'm wearing an Avengers shirt.
And I am not.
You're not. Over in the world of DC, as they've got stuff coming out this year, or next year, I should say. The first one will be Batman vs.
Well, we're jumping in midway because we've already had Man of Steel,
which sucked.
But it's set up the beginning of this universe.
And it was a pile of garbage. I don't know how hard it is to mess up a Superman movie, but you did it.
Pretty much.
And thanks for saving Metropolis, Superman.
Well, and thanks for introducing us to a Pa Kent who says, Clark, you should have let a bus full of kids die, and don't save me from this tornado when I'm just going to stand out here with the dog.
Yeah, we talked to on the morning show. We talked to our movie guy Eric Childress, who you can follow at Eric the Movie Man. On Twitter, we had a great talk about it off air that in the original Superman, when his dad, which I'm spacing on his name, Mr. Kent. Not Clark Kent. The hell's his name? I'm having a brain fart here. Zebediah Kent.
The character or the guy who played him?
The character. Yeah, see, now
and now you got me doing it. And please write in and tell us how stupid we are.
Now I have to. Anyways, my point is that was such a great part of that original movie.
Yeah.
When Superman, when he's there and his dad is dying, and there's all the power in the world can't save him.
Yes, that's a defining moment for Superman in a lot of ways.
Then you go to Man of Steel and you have the same scene, and Kevin Costner just waves him off.
Yeah, just like, no, I'm fine.
What? There's a tornado coming. I don't think anybody's going to be looking. Just jump over here and save me.
Exactly.
It was a really half-ass attempt, and that's kind of where that was the standard I kind of went with. The original Superman movie. Listen, are they great movies?
It depends on how you're judging them. Special effects, some of that stuff. No, the big plastic wrap S being flung. No, not at all. But the capturing Chris Reeve, the way he captured the duality of Clark Kent, and what I liked about that is seeing those movies originally was the first time that I ever realized that Superman is not the secret identity. Clark Kent is the secret identity. That's the put on.
And they took that from, or what's his name in Kill Bill, explained that. And I always thought that was
David Carradine. Yeah,
I always thought that was a great part of
Carradine.
But
at the end of
Jonathan.
Jonathan Kent. Yes,
Jonathan
and Martha.
We
Kent,
couldn't get John.
Meanwhile, I'm sitting here thinking about John Schneider playing him for 10 years in Smallville, trying to replay this because I know I've heard it, and it is literally John.
So, anyways, what was it trying to get? Man of Steel, really bad way to set up that universe. It sucked.
The worst origin story.
It was just. I think there were some cool parts to that movie.
Yep.
But it was god awful.
It was not good.
It was not good. So now you set up this universe, and this is why I don't have any faith for DC movies right now.
Yep.
Because as cool as the trailer was for Batman vs Superman, that's sitting in the back of my head that this is going to be bad.
Yep.
This isn't going to be good. This is
and when you start introducing a Batman that
we're gonna and it's the same thing. Oh, we're gonna make it dark and gritty and yeah, you just put out a pile of crap.
Yes, and Batman can be dark and gritty. We've proved that since about 1989 that you can make Batman dark and gritty as long as he doesn't exist in that larger world. When it's Batman's world, he can be dark and gritty.
Yeah.
Gotham can be a shithole. You cannot tell me that Gotham and Metropolis are sister cities across the bay, and that Gotham City is locked in 1940
it's
with
like
all
New
this
York
architecture.
And Jersey.
Yes, and that Metropolis is this bright, shiny beacon, but we don't go to the other side of the tracks. That's where Gotham City is. If the Waynes were such good people as they've always claimed to be, Gotham would have been better. You know what I mean? You can't make those two things jive. You can't put the dark, gritty Batman with Superman, and to be Superman can't be gritty. He has to be the Boy Scout.
Yeah.
I mean, probably, and I'm going to reference several times here throughout this DC conversation, because to me, Paul Dini, Bruce Timm, those comic/animated guys that were doing Batman the Animated Series.
Oh, it's great.
Superman the Animated Series. Four seasons of Justice League. Those guys, when you had Batman involved with the Justice League, it was always Batman would catch crap for it. It's like, you can't be the loner. I mean, we're up here.
Yeah, you got to be a part of the team. I know you paid for the place.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks, but you're not part of our club anymore.
Smile every once in a while. It's okay. You can't be, I'm Batman. It doesn't work.
But like I said, going back to this, I've got no faith in this movie.
I don't either. I'm going in with zero expectations, which, I mean, that I think will allow me to be pleasantly surprised.
I will say this. I would have been more excited for this movie, and people may think I'm crazy, but since it's the older Batman they're going for, I wanted to see Michael Keaton brought back as Batman. I think that would have been...
That idea never even occurred to me, but that's fantastic.
I mean, how cool... I mean, it wouldn't have to be the same universe as a Tim Burton and all that, but I think it would have been cool to bring back the older Batman as Michael Keaton. I think that would have been neat.
Yeah, that would have been amazing.
But, I mean, I see the trailers for this movie, and yeah, there's some cool-looking stuff in there, but I can't get excited about it. It's like, this is going to fail and fail miserably. So, the other one coming out next year will be Suicide Squad, which... I
want to see this.
It's going to be in that same universe.
I know.
And there's...
I think it will work for the same reason that Guardians of the Galaxy can work.
Yeah.
That, I think... Just get a new drink here. It's nothing exciting.
Just let me... Well, no, there's parts of it that look cool, but then it's like...
That's good vodka.
There you go. But they're like the Will Smith, that seems kind of forced. It's like, oh, we're just putting that name in there. Jared Leto's Joker is...
I heard something about that may make that work for me.
That he may not be actually the Joker.
That he's not the Joker. That he's Jason Todd after he's corrupted. That may make that work for me. If they actually had the stones to try and do that. Yeah. And that's a huge... That would explain why they have the dark Batman that they have.
Yeah.
Because that would absolutely be the biggest kick in the nuts for him ever.
Yeah. And going back to the Batman versus Superman thing, just something else I want to put in there. Superman could throw his ass into orbit.
Yes.
Like, that's the end of the fight, right?
Yes.
Like, he's got in the trailer, he's got the cutout of his mouth so he can preserve his costume.
Laser beams.
Yeah, laser beam, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he decapitates him.
Yeah, and like you said, literally pick him up, fly him into outer space, and throw him into the sun.
He wouldn't even have to do that. He could kick him. Or just, like, grab him and throw him.
The reason that Batman they've always, that always been the theory, it's always, Batman with enough preparation. Bull. The only reason that Batman wins in a fight against Superman is because Superman never uncorks and just kicks him into orbit.
Just pummels him.
Because, again... Superman's a Boy Scout. He has to be the Boy Scout.
I mean, did you see the level of destruction in the first Superman, the Man of Steel? You're gonna tell me some dude
Look, I'm theorizing, quite frankly, that when you look at the level of destruction in Batman v Superman, in the trailers, Darkseid. There's a rumor that Darkseid's in this. It has to be, because there's no way that there's that much destruction with Superman versus Batman, because, I mean, it's literally doink, a flick.
I also saw a rumor about that movie, and sorry, we're not moving on real quick, but I saw a rumor that General Zod might be turned into what's his name, the guy who killed Superman.
Darkseid. I said Darkseid. It's not Darkseid. It's
I know names suck for us right now for some reason.
The big
the
beast,
guy who's
the horn
the
horn guy.
Yeah. The hell's his name? Zebediah.
Yeah, Zebediah Monster.
No. Yeah, you're looking it up now.
I am looking it up.
Some of the other movies, and we're getting a little long in the tooth here, but what else coming out for them? Wonder Woman, which that'll fail.
Doomsday,
there it is. Deathstroke, or what'd you say, Darkseid?
Yeah, well, Darkseid, he's another Superman villain.
But they want to make General Zod into
Doomsday,
which is
a bad cloning process or something.
Which is
Luthor does it.
Just stupid. Come on. How are you going to get the needle into his veins to get some of the cells?
Exactly.
Yeah, it just killed that. So like I said, Wonder Woman will be coming out, which then the Untitled, or actually Justice League they're trying to set up, which can that really honestly keep up with Avengers? Or don't you think they should have done something different than Marvel? I feel like they're just playing second fiddle. They're trying to do the same thing Marvel did. and they're just not doing it as well. We're trying to go dark and gritty and all this crap.
Yep.
And we're gonna forcibly put this in.
Here's the thing. Here's what DC's banking on. 10 years ago, if you'd have picked 10 random people off the street and said, "Who's Superman?" they would have known.
Yeah.
If you'd have said 10 years ago to those random same people, "Who's Tony Stark?" 3 people maybe would have known. They're still banking on the fact that Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman are the holy trinity of the comic book world.
I think DC's going to... anyways, The Flash is coming out. Aquaman.
Best Flash ever? Michael Rosenbaum as the animated Flash.
Yeah, that's okay. Shazam. Boy, that reaction right there said it all.
I'm interested because I know The Rock's going to be in it. Other than that, no interest.
Justice League 2.
Yep.
Cyborg.
Yeah.
Green Lantern. They're going to take another shot at.
I do like a good Green Lantern movie. I honestly did enjoy Ryan Reynolds as Green Lantern, except for the green animated suits and whatnot.
Yeah, the fact that he put that joke into the Deadpool trailer
is great.
Was fantastic. So I think if DC is going to compete with Marvel, especially off that list we just read,
yep,
they got a lot of. They better be putting out some hell of good movies.
The quality's got to be there.
Because I don't have a whole lot of faith at all.
And it can't be a retread. It cannot be established territory. I don't want another
Avengers setup.
I don't want another origin story. I'm done.
Okay.
Let's bring them in. Let's get them rolling.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this week on the first ever version episode, I should say, of 151. Hopefully you go to the Twitter page, follow us. It is 151. That 515 is our area code. 151.
Don't worry, we'll get it later in editing, right?
There you go. Yeah, sure.
Wait. We can't do that either.
No, can't do that. No, go to Twitter and follow us, 151 the show. Hopefully more to come. As I'm Sox, he is Justin.
As always.
And we hope you enjoyed the first ever 151. Good night.